Hello everyone, my name is Pilar and today I will be teaching you how to sew a piece of clothing by hand. The reason I chose this topic is because I think knowing how to sew is a very useful life skill to have, especially when it comes to having emergencies and something rips in your clothing. Knowing how to sew it back up will bring you a lot of benefits. The method I will be showing is one of the fastest and the easiest because it is less time consuming and it is a process that you can fully understand step by step. I will be listing the materials first before showing them on later in the video. So firstly, you will need a sewing needle, some sewing thread, whatever color of you're choosing, whatever best correlates with the type of clothing that you want to fix. Personally, I'm going to be using a white sewing needle since that is the color that best correlates with the type of clothing I'm wanting to fix. But before showing that and showing the materials in the process, I'll be giving a brief description on the history of sewing and some precautions since accidents may happen. The art of sewing has dated back to 25,000 years ago, with civilization using bone needles and plant fibers to create animal hides, which created clothing and shelter. As time progressed, sewing has evolved and become more important through all different centuries, such as ancient civilization, Middle Ages, Renaissance, Industrial Revolution, and this 20th century. Some precautions when it comes to sewing is just knowing how to handle the needle well and making sure that you have a firm grip on it because it does have a pointy side. So just make sure you don't accidentally stab yourself with it during the process. So now that I have all the materials here, I will be saying what they are. So these two right here are sewing needles. This one is a little thinner piece. This is used for thinner clothing. This one is a thicker piece. This is used for thicker and larger clothing, but whichever one works perfectly fine. And then this is the sewing thread, and then this is optional, but I just use it to cut the sewing thread after I'm done with it. And then this is the clothing I will be stitching. I recommend turning it inside and out because doing it from the inside will make it look seamless from the outside, so you won't have that stitching shown on the outside after you're done with it. So now we will begin. I will be taking a pretty large piece, and the reason you want to be taking a large piece is because you're gonna have to fold it up. I'll show you when I'm done cutting it. So now you're gonna take one end of your sewing thread and put it through the hole of the sewing needle. You're going to put it all the way through and then make sure that both ends are perfectly, well, not perfectly, but pretty even, like that. And then you just make a hole, make a loop for you to make a knot. So now that you've made that little knot, can't really be, it's a very little, but you can kind of see the little knot right there. Now you can start sewing. You can start from the bottom or from the top, whichever works fine. And then you will take your little piece right here and then just put it through the beginning. And then you just put it all the way through. So then that's how it is started. And then you poke your way a little off to the side from where you put the needle through, and then you will make your first little sew right there, and then you will just start doing that repeatedly until you get to the very end. I'm gonna speed up this part since this opening is a little large, but I will show you what to do at the very end. Okay, so now that we've gotten to the very end, you want to make you want to pull the needle through one last time, and then instead of putting it all the way through, you want to create like this little hole right here, and then put that through that hole. So, right there, and then you can do it once or twice, how many times you want. I will be doing it twice just to make sure. And then after this you can just cut it and you are done. So okay, so now you want to flip the shirt inside out. So you'll be able to see you'll be able to see that it is put together. Obviously there is no stitching because it was all done from the inside, so it will look as seamless from the outside. Now that we are done with sewing, I will be showing you how to put the materials back. Depending on what you have and where you store the sewing material, I put it in this where we have all of the needles and the threads. So I have this little thing to just put it through, but there is a little box, or just like you can just put it in the corner to make sure to keep it there and not mix it up with the sewing thread so you won't get hurt. And then now that you have put it all back, you are done with sewing. But lastly, I hope that my method helped you gain some skills in learning how to sew, because I think it is a very a useful skill to have, and it can be a fun and creative one too if you choose to further develop that skill. But essentially I think it is a very money saving technique, so you won't even have to buy other clothing when you can just fix it up at home in a fast and effective way. Thank you.